For money, I married an old man. I didn't even get to enjoy the wealth. I died on the wedding day. When I woke up again, I had somehow traveled back in time to when the old man was 20 years old. At this point in his life, he was a struggling, penniless young man. Recognizing the potential in this future heavyweight, I eagerly approached him, ready to make an impression and secure my future. But before I could even speak, he slammed me against a dilapidated wall. His eyes narrowed. "Give me $10 and I'll let you go home." I was being extorted. Here I was, pinned against a crumbling wall by a rough-looking young man. His face was less than a fist width away from mine. Thick eyelashes, a straight nose. He was handsome, alright, but why did he look so familiar? He was a spitting image of the younger version of the old man I had married, the future tycoon Orion. "Give me $10 and I'll let you go home." A low, rough voice confirmed my suspicion. I blinked hard, staring at this young man, and blurted out, "Husband." He flinched, his brow furrowing. "I don't want people, I want money." "That's not quite what I meant." Looking around, I saw a landscape of low, ramshackle houses, clearly a stark contrast to the era I had just left. Had I really traveled through time? And not just that, but back to the youth of the very man I was about to marry. Good heavens, what an unexpected stroke of luck. In my previous life, I had been unlucky, finally finding a rich old man to marry, only to drop dead on the wedding day before I could enjoy any of the splendor. It seemed fate wasn't entirely against me. Not only had it given me a second chance at life, but it had also delivered this high-potential, future-rich and handsome stock right back to me. The sooner I latched onto this sturdy leg, the sooner I could enjoy a good life. Suppressing my bubbling excitement, I managed an "oh" and started patting my pockets. The era I came from was cashless. All I could find were a few loose coins. I dug them out and placed them in his palm. "This is all I have right now. Maybe you can use this first." Only then did the young Orion release me. He counted the few coins, a look of awkwardness on his face. "Give me your contact information. I'll pay you back when I make some money." "Just take it," I said, waving my hand with a wide smile. "We're family, no need for formalities." At my words, Orion's expression grew even stranger. He stared at me for a long moment, then, stone-faced, handed the money back. Forget it. What did he mean by that? Did he think it wasn't enough? Seeing him actually turn and stride away with his long legs, I started to panic. "I have some gold jewelry. Maybe I can sell it right now for cash." The moment I said that, Orion walked away even faster, looking as if I were completely insane. I watched his retreating back with annoyance. They said he was a little hooligan. Why was he leaving so easily? Couldn't he have a little professional dedication? It wasn't until Orion was gone that a crucial realization dawned on me. I had been reborn body and soul, which meant I was a ghost citizen, without any official identity or records in this time. Where was I going to live? In the 90s, there were number 24-hour convenience stores on the streets. With limited cash, I wandered around until I found a public bathhouse to rest. In the steamy mist after taking a shower, I drifted off to sleep, hazy and exhausted. I even dreamt of my wedding night with the old man. In the dream, he was as gentle as ever. He kissed my forehead, the tip of my nose, and then, just as I curled my lips slightly, leaning in, a voice cut through the dream. "Get up." I opened my eyes, meeting a pair of eyes startlingly similar to those in my dream. Instinctively reaching out, I wrapped my arms around his neck and pressed a quick kiss to his lips. "I want to sleep more." As soon as the words left my mouth, I was unceremoniously dumped onto the floor. Ouch! It hurt. My sleepiness vanished instantly, replaced by a wince of pain. Young Orion's face was stern. "This place is closing. Go home." He turned and walked away from the rest area, looking almost as if he were fleeing. I narrowed my eyes and clearly saw the faint redness of his ears. My mind cleared. I had died. And this wasn't my old husband, but Orion in his youth. With a sigh, I could only lament that the road ahead was long and arduous. I slowly changed back into my clothes and walked out. At the counter stood a middle-aged woman. Her hair was filled with pink curlers, and an unlit cigarette dangled from her lips, reminding me of a stereotypical landlady. 2 yuan. I looked down and placed the few remaining coins on the counter, then turned to search for Orion. My mind was in a whirl. What was Orion's connection to this bathhouse? I didn't see Orion, but suddenly the landlady raised her voice. Trying to pull a fast one on me, you little brat? Huh. I jumped, seeing her point at the coins I had given her. If you're going to use fake money, at least make it believable. You gave me a coin minted in 2000, and it's only the 90s. I snatched the coin and looked, instantly panicking. I hadn't even thought about currency dates. No, please let me explain. Explain what? Do you have the money or not? If you don't, you can explain it to the police. With that, she grabbed me by the collar and started dragging me towards the door. I stumbled, nearly falling. If I was taken to the police station, I'd have no way to explain my situation. Just then, Orion finished cleaning the bathrooms. Orion, help me! Cried out. The boss lady reacted first. You two know each other? I nodded frantically, looking pleadingly at Orion. Then I heard him say, expressionless, 3 words. Don't know her. You dog. Not a shred of the gentlemanly grace he had when he was older. The boss lady's curses grew louder. I clung to the doorframe, refusing to be dragged out. In the stalemate, Orion pulled 2 yuan coins from his pocket. I'll pay for her. Hearing this, the hand gripping my arm suddenly lost its grip. Caught off guard, I fell down. The middle-aged woman's face instantly shifted, returning to a smile. All right then, since it's paid. You can go. Orion shouldered his bag and also headed for the door. The landlady called after him. Just so we're clear, you're working for your mother. She took 2 days off when she was sick, so I'm not deducting her pay by letting you cover for her today, but you're not getting paid either. Orion didn't look back. Maybe he didn't hear, or maybe he just didn't care to respond. Afraid of losing him again this time, I scrambled up from the ground, rubbing my bruised backside, and hurried out after him. Orion! I called. He turned, his cool eyes devoid of warmth. Don't follow me. I grinned awkwardly. I have to pay you back the money I owe you, right? I expected him to say he didn't need it. Instead, he stopped, his tone mocking. Giving out fake money at the bathhouse. So you have money now? No, but I can pay you back in other ways. Orion pointed at my gold bracelet. Fine. Use that to pay. The gold bracelet was one of the wedding gifts from the old man. He was generous, and every piece of jewelry was solid and heavy. Thinking of this, I paused, lost in thought, which Orion misinterpreted. He gave a cold laugh and turned away. Gritting my teeth, I pulled off the bracelet. Here, take it. This time it was Orion's turn to look stunned. I blinked and smiled brightly. You kissed me at the bathhouse today, so you have to take responsibility. Consider this bracelet my dowry, okay? At the mention of the kiss, Orion's face hardened. You were the one who... I was the one who kissed you first, so I'd take responsibility? I thought for a moment. Okay, consider this your bride price. Take me home. Orion was speechless. Slow down, I said, panting. The night was quiet, only our 2 figures visible on the narrow street. Orion had long legs. I had to jog to keep up with him. If you can't keep up, get lost, he said. I realized young Orion had a terrible temper. My old husband never even spoke a harsh word to me, let alone yelled. Gritting my teeth, I shook my fist at his retreating back. Just wait until he made his fortune. I wouldn't rest until I maxed out his credit cards. He finally turned when I fell silent. The moonlight outlined his profile in a beautiful silhouette. I quickly pulled a strained smile. He pursed his lips, then turned his head and muttered, "Short legs." What? He couldn't get rid of me, so he resorted to personal insults. Despite his words, I noticed Orion slowed his pace. We walked a long way. Just as my calves were aching fiercely, Orion finally stopped. It was a matchbox building, a cramped tenement. Looking at its crumbling exterior, I wondered how it hadn't collapsed yet. A true scientific miracle. Only one night, Orion said, looking at me. I didn't dare argue and nodded quickly. He took out a key and lowered his voice. Wait outside by the door. I'll come get you in a bit. His secretive manner reminded me of sneaking in late after getting takeout, afraid my parents would find out. Why are you back so late today? I heard a voice inside. I guessed it was my future mother-in-law, whom I had never met. Rumor had it she passed away when my old husband was 20. The timing seemed to match. Quietly pushing the door open a crack, I peered inside. The room was decorated in a popular style of the time. Raw, unfinished concrete. Was very small, with only a single partitioned area. A camp bed was set up in what passed for a living room. This was where Orion slept. His mother's face was pale, her body extremely thin. She coughed twice before speaking. I already paid the rent today. You don't need to worry about that anymore. Orion paused. Where did you get the money? Then, as if remembering something, he added, and the medicine I told you to buy? Don't worry about that, she said. Orion laughed coldly. I gave you the money, and you tell me not to worry about it? His mother pursed her lips. I know my own body. Treatment is useless. I won't get better. It's better for me to go sooner, I won't be a burden. Her words seemed to strike a raw nerve in Orion. If you really didn't want to be a burden, you shouldn't have given birth to me in the first place. Now you're spouting this nonsense. If you have the guts, just die somewhere I won't know about. Don't ever let me see you again. The atmosphere instantly became tense. I stood outside the door watching the drama unfold, and couldn't help but let out a sudden burp. I was hungry. I quickly covered my mouth, but it was too late. Both people inside turned simultaneously, staring at me through the crack in the door. Especially Orion. His eyes looked like they wanted to skin me alive. I felt unfairly treated. I hadn't had a drop of water or a bite to eat since I arrived 12 hours ago. Even an immortal would struggle. And so I was forced to appear. I lied, claiming to be Orion's friend, having come from out of town after my parents died to stay with relatives. When I got back, I found out my relatives had moved away. It was a good thing I met Orion. I gave Orion a pitiful look. He was kind enough to bring me back to stay for a few nights. Please don't mind, Auntie. Hearing this, his mother's face softened with concern. Of course not, dear. Make yourself at home. Don't mind how shabby it is. You can stay as long as you need. This performance earned me several sharp looks from Orion. He mouthed 3 words at me. Little liar. This little liar hadn't just secured a place to stay. She was also about to use the gold jewelry her future old husband had bought her to pay for his mother's medical treatment. I glared back at Orion. The more I thought about it, the more I felt like this whole transmigration trip was costing me a fortune. Orion's home was incredibly Spartan, so much so that there was only one camp bed. You sleep here tonight, he said, nudging the cot towards me with his foot. I looked around. Where will you sleep? Orion spread a few newspapers on the floor, answering my question with his actions. How could he sleep like that? Seeing my look of clear disapproval, Orion raised an eyebrow. Want to switch? I quickly plastered on a grin. No. You're the man, you can handle it. The weather was too hot. I tossed and turned on the cot for a long time before finally falling asleep. Not long after, I was woken up by mosquito bites. Scratching my neck, I groggily opened my eyes and saw Orion sitting cross-legged on the floor. A small desk lamp was beside him, and he was intently focused on something. Still awake. I sat up. Orion shifted, and I saw several pagers and a dozen or so handheld game consoles spread out on the floor. In this era, these were high-tech items. I had even played with these when I was a child. How do you have these? My interest was piqued. I reached out to pick one up, but Orion slapped my hand away. They're not fixed yet. Don't touch. You can fix these? Yeah. I was amazed. How could someone who lived in a bare-bones house and had seemingly never used these things know how to repair them? Then I remembered. Orion had made his first fortune in the electronics industry. Talent, it seemed, was a mysterious thing. Even in the mud, it could shine brightly. How much do you make fixing these for people? I heard there are many opportunities in Shenzhen. Why don't you consider developing your career there? He didn't even lift his eyelids. Not going. I wanted to press him further, but Orion reached out and pushed my forehead, gently pressing me back onto the bed. Why are you so chatty? Go to sleep. I pouted, pointing to the mosquito bites on my body. Look, the mosquitoes are eating me alive. I can't sleep. Dramatic. Orion frowned, got up, rummaged through the cabinet, and handed me a hand fan. What's this for? Fan yourself. I was dumbfounded. Couldn't you at least give me some mosquito repellent? Don't have any. Costs money. Fine, you stingy guy. I fanned myself, but it only made me hotter. I gave up on the fan, turned my back to him, and covered myself tightly with the blanket, determined to roast rather than be bitten to death. As I slept, the blanket was gently pulled away by someone. I felt a cool breeze as if someone was fanning me. It was very comfortable. I didn't wake up again until dawn. When I opened my eyes the next day, Orion was already up and changing clothes. I didn't know if he had just woken up or hadn't slept at all. He quickly stripped off his shirt, revealing his toned upper body. I couldn't help but marvel. Broad shoulders, long legs, a nice butt. This was my future husband. Just as I was lost in admiration, Orion turned around, and our eyes met directly. Oh no, I was caught. I quickly closed my eyes. Orion sneered. Stop pretending. I kept my eyes tightly shut, ignoring him. Orion kicked the cot with his foot. You're awake. You should go. This time I couldn't keep up the act. Go where? You could only stay one night. I was dumbfounded. But Auntie said last night I could stay as long as I wanted. This house is rented in my name. Meaning unless he agreed it didn't matter what anyone else said. How could he be like this? I thought after last night, our relationship had made a significant leap forward. I was about to argue further when a loud crash came from the inner room. Orion's face changed instantly. He rushed in and came back out carrying his mother. My mom fainted. It was cancer. Thankfully it was early stage treatable. But the cost of treatment was something Orion couldn't afford. Coming out of the hospital room, I saw Orion sitting in the hallway smoking. Since when did you smoke? I remembered the old man never smoked. Orion glanced at me but didn't reply. I have rhinitis. I'm allergic to tobacco. I muttered, and as soon as I finished, the smoke stung my eyes, making them water. I coughed a few times. Dramatic, he said, but he finally put out the cigarette. Eleanor's treatment required money, and clearly, Orion couldn't scrape enough together. I calculated my assets. Besides the bracelet, I have a necklace and earrings. If I sell all of them, it should cover the treatment costs for this period. We can figure out the rest later. I don't use a woman's money. I was surprised. Then why did you extort me yesterday? Orion faltered, speechless for once. His ears were red, almost dripping blood. That was an accident, he finally mumbled. And I wasn't extorting, I was borrowing. Okay. Then let's say I'm lending it to you. Orion pursed his lips. That's different. What was different? I was about to ask, but before I could, I heard a voice from the end of the hospital corridor. Little brother. I heard Mom's in the hospital? I looked up and saw a fat man with a large head, a Big Brother phone tucked under his armpit, and hair greasier than a peanut. Behind him were a few henchmen, all with crooked, unattractive faces, as if afraid people wouldn't know they were thugs. Orion stood up, subtly shielding me behind him. He nodded to the newcomer. Brother E. The man called Brother E pulled an envelope from his bag and placed it on the chair in front of Orion. A little something. Orion didn't move. Think about what I told you before and come find me. After all, Mom needs money for treatment, right? He turned to leave, then turned back, pointing at me. Got a girlfriend? Nice-looking girl. Orion's expression hardened. I could see his fists clench. Brother E patted Orion's shoulder. No need to be nervous. No other meaning. Just take care of yourself. He gave me another look, then waved his hand and left, surrounded by his thugs. After they left, I asked, what did they want you to do? None of your business. I'm your future wife. How is it none of my business? As soon as I said that, Orion's look changed significantly. I realized I had said the wrong thing. My voice dropped. I mean, you kissed me. That man is Silas Liu. He owns all the karaoke bars in this area, Orion said. I was surprised he volunteered the information and immediately shut up to listen. Someone brought in a batch of electronic products from Guangdong game consoles, mobile phones, things like that. They plan to relabel them and sell them, and they want me to join them. The electronics industry was just starting to boom in China at this time. Selling these items was very profitable. But wasn't this a good thing? Orion looked at me. They're fakes. An illegal business. I suddenly remembered something from the past. When I met the old man, he already had a strong foothold in the industry. He rarely spoke about that period of his life. The only thing I knew was from some news articles I had seen years ago. The old man started his business at 28, slowly gaining ground in Guangzhou, and later built an empire. But now he was only 20. There was a gap of 8 years, the golden age of China's electronics development. What was he doing during that time? Suddenly, I remembered a biographical account I had read. He had been to prison. I abruptly stood up and stared at Orion. Are you planning to go with Brother E? Orion pursed his lips. After a long pause, he replied, I have to save my mom. I finally understood why the old man was so reluctant to talk about his past. Back then, he had gone down a dark path with Silas Liu to save his mother. Eleanor did have the surgery, but when she learned her son was involved in illegal activities, her condition worsened and she passed away. My heart ached. The old man had never mentioned any of this to me. Although we were married, he always treated me like a sheltered child, keeping me by his side and expecting me to just be happy. I hadn't thought to ask him about these things either, mainly because I had married him for his money. But back then, years ago, the old man had also saved my mother's life. I knelt outside the operating room, begging the doctors to save her. In the end, it was the old man who helped me. Orion, do you trust me? I clutched the bracelet in my hand. This time, I want to help you. I sold all the gold jewelry I was wearing. The money covered the cost of Eleanor's first course of treatment. You don't have to go this far, Orion said, looking distressed. If you really feel bad about it, just buy me double the amount in the future, I said with a grin. I figured this was originally from him anyway. I was just returning it. Besides, this was a surefire investment. With this life-saving money, Eleanor's condition stabilized. But her illness wasn't something that could be cured with just one round of treatment. Child, you're a good girl. Don't spend your money on me, Eleanor said, lying in the hospital bed, holding my hand. Orion hasn't had an easy life with me. His father left when he was born and I've always been sick and incapable. It's a good thing he's ambitious. She sighed. I have no other wish, truly. I just hope that after I'm gone, he can live his life without burdens, live for himself. Looking at Eleanor's pale face, I seemed to see my own mother lying in a hospital bed in my past life. You're not a burden, I said, squeezing Eleanor's hand, speaking each word clearly. You are his anchor, his faith, his direction. Just for his sake, you have to live well, fight to live. I stayed until Eleanor fell asleep before leaving the room. As I stepped out, I saw Orion standing outside. I didn't know how long he had been there. Why didn't you go in? I asked, startled. Orion's eyes were slightly red-rimmed. He looked at me and asked, why? I paused, then realized he was asking why I was so resolutely helping him. Because I like you, of course, I said, deliberately putting on a playful tone. I'm afraid if your mom doesn't get help, you'll feel pity for any poor girl who needs help in the future and then end up making her your wife. I widened my eyes. When you're rich, when you become an old man, and you meet a lovely girl like me, you're not allowed to abandon your first wife, got it? Yeah, my taste isn't that bad, he replied flatly. That's better, I huffed, then paused. Wait, who are you calling not that bad? Orion laughed. It was the first time I had seen Orion smile since I transmigrated. He reached out and ruffled my hair, saying, got it. With Eleanor in the hospital, only Orion and I were sleeping at home. Orion suggested I sleep in Eleanor's small room, but I refused. I can't sleep by myself. Really? Orion glanced at me coolly. I thought you slept soundly in the bathhouse. You couldn't be woken up even after everyone left. I had forgotten about that. I let out a dry chuckle. Of course you're amazing. A terrifying human with the memory of a computer. In the end, I still ended up in the small room, mainly because I didn't want Orion to sleep on the floor. Once inside, I noticed the faint smell of mosquito repellent in the air. Someone had probably sprayed it for me beforehand. I buried my face in the blanket, feeling a warmth spread through me. This old man. Orion didn't say much, but he took on a lot of work. At night, he still helped clean the bathhouse. Remembering what the landlady had said that day, I asked, are you still cleaning the bathhouse for free? No, Orion said, standing beside me. Last time was to make up for my mom's missed shifts. Now I get paid normally. The pay isn't much. Why don't you quit? Orion glanced at me but didn't reply. I immediately understood. In Orion's current situation, any income was better than none. But I felt that this wasn't the way for him to make money. Orion's brain was being wasted cleaning a bathhouse. It was a complete misuse of his talent. Let me go today. Orion looked at me. I puffed out my chest. I'm an expert at working. When I arrived at the bathhouse, only the boss lady, Pearl, was there. Her head was full of pink curlers, and I was still curious what she looked like without them. Well, isn't it the fake money girl from the other day? Come for a bath. Pearl called out cheerfully as I entered. Her enthusiasm completely different from the day she had tried to drag me out. No, I'm here to talk business with you. In the 90s, bathhouses only offered baths and scrubbing. They didn't make much money. However, by adding just a few simple services, you could quickly stand out from the competition. For example, a SPA service was a good option. At its core, it was just adding some essential oil to the scrubbing service. Clearly, Pearl wasn't seeing the vision. Business expansion? My business is for you to mop the floor cleanly. I don't need you doing anything else. If I can bring in customers, can I offer my services here? Why should I? I gritted my teeth. I'll clean the bathhouse for you for free this month. And I can give you a 10% commission if customers buy the service. Pearl wasn't interested in commissions, but her eyes lit up at the mention of free cleaning. You'll clean for free this whole month? Yes. Deal, Pearl said, her eyes twinkling. Just remember, if you don't clean properly, I'll deduct money from you. The scrubbing ladies were much easier to convince than Pearl. When they heard that I would give them 1 yuan for every 10-minute service they performed, they immediately agreed to try. I spent some time teaching them everything I knew about SPA services from my time with the old man. I also used the leftover money from selling my gold to buy a few bottles of essential oil from the county town. The oils weren't expensive, but the key was in the marketing. For older women, I'd say the oil could tighten skin. For younger women, I'd say it could whiten and brighten. At the very least, it offered moisturizing and hydration. It turned out, the desire for beauty transcended time. As soon as the essential oil SPA service was introduced, many local residents came to try it. My price was low. Only 50 cents for 10 minutes. If they wanted more, they'd have to add time and pay more. Within a week, the service was doing surprisingly well. Even Pearl came in and asked me, "You have an oil for tightening skin? Bring me some to try." Thanks to our essential oil service, Pearl's bathhouse became the it bathhouse, hugely popular among the middle-aged women in the area. And I kept my promise to give Pearl a commission. With more customers and extra money, Pearl's eyes disappeared into a wide smile. She stopped making me mop the floor. Why don't you continue doing that expansion thing here? With the money coming in, I was in a great mood. When Orion picked me up in the evening, my eyes were smiling. Orion must have thought I was seriously ill. He kept glancing at me, finally asking, "You love mopping floors that much?" Actually, I lied about something. Orion raised an eyebrow. "I'm working there, but the boss lady isn't paying me." Hearing this, Orion's face instantly darkened. "Did she bully you?" No. I quickly stopped Orion, pulling out a stack of small bills and fluttering them in front of him. "Look at this." Orion looked a little surprised. "Boss Orion, I can support you from now on too." Orion finally understood what I had been doing all this time. He looked slightly helpless. Good. I can finally relax and be a kept man. It was clear Orion couldn't be a kept man. I'm not bragging, but without the burden of his family's financial struggles, Orion's life trajectory accelerated significantly. I didn't know what work Orion had been doing before, but soon a company from Shenzhen contacted him, wanting him to work there. This is great. Go. I was even more excited than he was. As soon as Orion went, I could quickly follow and reach the pinnacle of life. Seeing my reaction, Orion's face fell. I refused. Why? Orion's expression was flat. Don't want to go. That's it? I stared at Orion, seeing no hint of joking in his expression, and started to panic. Development there is at least 10 years ahead of here. You'll have a brilliant future if you go. If he didn't go, whose leg would I latch onto in the future? But Orion didn't seem to hear me. He stood up and walked away. I intended to appeal to his emotions and reason with him further, but instead, Orion initiated a cold war with me. My future was at stake. I refused to compromise. We were at a stalemate. Even Eleanor noticed the strange tension between us and quietly asked me what was wrong. Annoyed, I deliberately said in front of Orion, "Nothing much, just that Orion's on his man period." Orion didn't react at all. That evening, Orion walked me to the bathhouse for work. I was still angry and didn't want him to accompany me, deliberately walking very fast. Just as we were almost there, Orion suddenly grabbed my arm. "Do you want me to leave that badly?" His voice was hoarse, carrying a hint of almost imperceptible hurt. "Do you know how far Shenzhen is from here?" His question stunned me. Only then did I understand Orion's hesitation. But transportation is so convenient now. Trailed off. No, transportation wasn't convenient at all. It would take 2 days and 2 nights on a slow train to get to Shenzhen. The old Orion, with no parents and no one to rely on, had simply packed a bag and headed south. But now his mother was here. And I was here. He hesitated. When I first arrived, my goal was clear. I wanted to ride on Orion's coattails and help him get rich quickly. But now the opportunity was right in front of us, just one step away from success. I found myself defecting. I seemed to be reluctant to leave Orion. Sitting in the bathhouse, I sighed repeatedly. Even Pearl couldn't stand it. What's with you, child? So young and sighing all the time. Sister Pearl, let me ask you. Money or a man, which would you choose? Money. Pearl didn't hesitate for a second. With money you can have men. Hearing this, I was amazed. I hadn't noticed before, but Pearl's ideas were so progressive. I instantly perked up and asked, material wealth or love, which do you choose? She was impatient. Stop asking. Whatever you ask, I'll choose money. Family, friendship, love. None of it is more important than money. Sister Pearl, you truly are a woman of the new era. I gave her a thumbs up. This little sister has had an epiphany. Pearl was right. If I had money, would I still be afraid of not finding love? Besides, once Orion settled in Shenzhen, he could just bring us over. We could say goodbye to our concrete box and move directly into a mansion. However, I didn't get a chance to tell Orion this. An uninvited guest arrived at the bathhouse. It was someone I had seen before. Silas Liu. Pearl clearly knew of Silas's reputation. As soon as he arrived, she greeted him. Brother E. Come for a scrub. I hear your place is quite something these days, offering some essential oil service? Making a lot of money, huh? At his words, the smile on Pearl's face tightened. Where did you hear that? We're just a small business. There's no such thing as a special service. Whether it's a service or not isn't for me to say, Silas said, waving a hand. I brought my brothers over to experience it. We only serve female customers. She didn't finish her sentence. Silas's eyes widened, and the fleshy jowls on his face twitched. Pearl immediately fell silent. All right, Silas said. I'll go call the scrubbers. He turned and started to lift the curtain to go inside and find the women who gave scrubs. Don't bother, Silas said, pointing at me. Let this girl serve me personally. He looked at me lecherously. We know each other, right? Pearl's smile froze. My face also turned grim. The several men he brought surrounded me, ready to force me down if I didn't comply. I finally understood. Silas had come deliberately. He was here for me. Everyone knew the service Silas Liu spoke of had nothing to do with essential oils. Pearl tried to help me, but Silas's men dragged her aside. Stood behind the counter. Our establishment doesn't offer that kind of service and I can't provide it. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Silas laughed as if he had heard the funniest thing. He turned to his men, showing off a row of yellowed teeth. Little sister, I came today because your man refused my offer. As a big shot like me, I naturally lost face. Didn't I? And when I lose face, shouldn't I get it back? Silas lowered his voice deliberately, but his words were just as disgusting. But don't worry, if you come with me, you'll live a good life. I never mistreat women. Ugly face but big dreams. As soon as I finished speaking, Silas reached out and dragged me towards him. I swore and struggled violently, but his grip was too strong. This was it. My transmigration was useless. My life was turning out worse than it was before. Just as I felt my heart turn to ash, Pearl suddenly broke free from the thug's grip. She grabbed the heavy golden pig statue from the counter and threw it directly at Silas. You son of a b****, go to hell. Silas was hit on the head and instantly covered in blood. His men surged forward. I was stunned with fear, and then I saw one of the men grab Pearl by the hair and smash her head against the wall. Sister Pearl. I roared and lunged towards her. But I was also overwhelmed, the men's hard fists raining down on me. Pearl was the main culprit, and was beaten more severely than I was. Her body was a bloody mess. But she didn't stop cursing. You bastards. You're all king animals. I'll die protecting this girl before I let you bully her. Tears blurred my vision. Just seconds ago, Pearl had said nothing was more important than money. Now she was stepping forward to protect me, risking her life. I don't know how long it lasted. Maybe not long. Just as my consciousness began to fade, Orion, who was coming to pick me up from work, arrived. In my haze I saw him charging in, roaring with fury. He picked up an iron shovel. I tried to call out to him, but I couldn't make a sound. Finally, the image faded completely. I lost consciousness. I seemed to have a very long dream. In the dream, I was back in my own time and saw the old man again. He was sitting alone in a spacious office. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, revealing a golf course in the distance. When we were together, the old man had taught me how to play golf there. A rather boring sport. The old man was looking at some documents. On his desk was a photo of us together. He had aged well. You couldn't tell our nearly 20-year age difference from the picture. "Who is this?" I heard someone ask as the office door opened. The old man smiled and replied, "My wife." After they finished talking and the person left, I saw the old man pick up the photo again and sigh. He didn't say anything more, but the look in his eyes made mine water. Xiao xiao? Xiao xiao. The images began to tear apart. I heard someone calling my name. I struggled to open my eyes, and a familiar face came into view. Mother-in-law. No. My mind cleared. I realized I had died in that life. Now I had transmigrated. I corrected myself. Auntie Orion. Don't move, lie still. Orion's mother wiped tears from her eyes. You're awake. That's wonderful, you're awake. Where's Orion? At the mention of his name, Orion's mother fell silent. My heart sank. Where is Orion? He's been locked up. That day, when Silas Liu and his men came to the bathhouse, Orion had saved me and Pearl. Seeing me covered in blood, he had gone berserk. He picked up the iron shovel and started hitting them. No one died, but they were close to it. Silas Liu was permanently disabled. Orion was sentenced to prison. I had saved Eleanor's life, but I couldn't prevent Orion's fate. Fortunately, Orion's crime was considered accidental injury, and his sentence wasn't heavy. The day he was released, Eleanor and I went to pick him up. After several months, he was much thinner, and his hair was shaved to a stubble. I didn't care about any of that. I rushed towards him like a little cannonball and threw myself into his arms, immediately bursting into tears, crying out all the grievances I had accumulated. Orion stroked my face. You're okay. Not disfigured. What kind of nonsense was that? I cried and laughed at the same time. Orion took my hand. Let's go home. Orion decided to go to Shenzhen. The company that had contacted him before sent him another invitation, doubling his salary. Perhaps the incident with Silas Liu had touched Orion, making him realize that without money you could only be beaten, or for some other reason he finally agreed this time. But unlike before, he planned to take his family with him. You might have a very hard time there, Orion warned me beforehand. Conditions might be even worse than here, potentially much harsher. I know. I've never been to Shenzhen either. What if you... Are you done yet? I dropped my luggage on the ground. Orion, do you not want to take me? Orion softened. I'm afraid you'll suffer. I'm not stupid. I won't let myself suffer. After I said that, Orion looked at me for a long time before finally saying, You're not stupid? There's no one in the world stupider than you. When Orion and I set off, Pearl also came. She had been injured worse than me that day and was bedridden for 3 full months before recovering. Don't you worry, I'll look after the old lady, she said. Just as I was feeling touched, I heard Pearl continue. Just remember to send me money on time. Ah, of course. I grinned and waved vigorously at Pearl. Sister Pearl, I'll miss you. You have to remember to miss me too. Forget it, I won't miss you. I can't wait for you to leave, so all the money from the essential oil service goes into my pocket. Go on, get your tickets checked. Nobody's thinking about you. Pearl pushed Orion and me towards the ticket gate. Before entering, I looked back and saw Pearl wiping away a tear. Pearl was the real trickster. The green train slowly moved forward. An unknown journey awaited us. But Orion and I held hands tightly. I knew that heading south this time we would both have a bright future. There's something I've always wanted to ask you, I said, looking up at Orion. Why were you willing to help me in the beginning, and even agreed to take me home? Orion had been very good to me, so good that I didn't even know when exactly he fell in love with me. It couldn't possibly have been when he extorted me, purely captivated by my stunning beauty, right? You might not believe it, but ever since I can remember, I've had a recurring dream. In the dream it's me much older and I keep saying one thing. He said, if you meet my wife when you're 20 years old, please take good care of her. The moment I met you I knew. You were that person. I thought again of the lonely figure sitting in the office in my dream. I tightened my grip on Orion's right hand. My gaze slowly shifted to the window. Outside were vast fields, green and full of life. We'll meet again, won't we? I thought. 20 years later I would meet Orion, no longer young. But by then, he would already be my husband. We would grow old together side by side. We had promised each other this time. Neither of us would be absent. The end.